Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. This is our usual 2 o'clock time frame on Mondays to give you a COVID coronavirus update, which we will do after we have a special announcement, because I'm joined today by a special guest. I'm joined, as you can see to my left, by Steve Bellone, who is the Suffolk County Executive, a colleague of mine. He precedes me. I had the opportunity when I became County Executive to reach out to Steve and form a relationship. He's here today because we have an important announcement to make, and I'm going to make sure that Steve has a chance to outline an idea that came out of Suffolk County's commitment to shared services. We're going to be talking about a plan in a second that will save Westchester residents dollars through an innovative partnership. And this shared services initiative has both the advantage of being cost conscious and at the same time environmentally sensitive. President Biden had a recent executive order, and so therefore we're going to sign executive orders that connect into that to have our respective county governments develop plans to convert our vehicle fleets to electric by 2030. And the departments would be directed to submit plans to our respective DPW fleet divisions and to each of us as county executive within the next 90 days. The plans will include planning for charging stations at respective county lots. We've already begun to initiate the electric vehicle charging station initiative, North White Plains, and a number of our various county holdings and parks. But all of this is an effort to try to achieve zero emission fleets in both Suffolk and Westchester County. And so I owe a debt of gratitude to Peter McCart, who is our Director of Sustainability, Energy, and Environment for Westchester County, for his work and his role in all of this. This is a significant effort to combat climate change. But it doesn't come without leadership from individuals, and I have to say that much of what we've done in Westchester that patterns the ideas of shared services has come from following Suffolk County's lead in the creation of a portal and a number of other areas. So I'd like my colleague and my friend Steve Bellone, County Executive of Suffolk County, to talk a little bit about this initiative. Steve.
Thank you, County Executive. Thank you very much, County Executive. It is an honor to be here with you today and back in Westchester once again. As County Executive mentioned, we have worked together and collaborated on a number of different issues, particularly on the issue of shared services. And if there's anything that we've learned coming out of COVID, and I think we've taken a number of lessons, but the importance of working together, of collaborating together. Those calls I know the County Executive, George, that you have done here with local officials are absolutely critical. Same thing that we did in Suffolk County in grappling with this crisis and being able to have that relationship and communicate with one another as we dealt with this unprecedented natural disaster, COVID-19, has been critically important to us in Suffolk County, and I think our mutual constituents. And so we come together again around another issue, and I think just a couple of weeks ago is another example. County Executive and myself, as well as our colleague Laura Curran in Nassau County, kicked off a suburban coalition to push back against the SALT cap, something that is impacting families in our respective counties and quite frankly is impacting every single New Yorker, because that SALT cap on state and local property tax deductions makes our state less competitive. And we know coming out of COVID-19, it is going to be very important that we're in a position to be able to compete on the global stage and with the other states in our country, of course. And that's why that's so important. So I thanked George for helping kick off the Suburban Coalition to push back against SALT deductions. We need Washington to lift that cap. It was unjust, unfair when it was done. As George has said many times, it represents double taxation. And that collaboration is very important, and I truly do appreciate it. But today we're here to talk specifically about shared services. And I want to thank George for his leadership on all issues related to our environment, on green initiatives. He has been a leader in our state. And this announcement today is just another example. This is a critical issue. As George mentioned, we are addressing climate change directly. The President Biden, has put in an ambitious goal in place, and that is to cut emissions by 50% by 2030. And that is a large, ambitious goal. in line with the great challenge that we face. We are all at risk from climate change. Our economy, our way of life, it is an existential issue, particularly on Long Island, where we are surrounded in every respect by water, where we have dealt with devastating events like Superstorm Sandy and the latest major storm Isaias. It is an existential threat. So I'm very proud to be able to be here today and collaborate once again with Westchester County under the leadership of County Executive Latimer to say we are going to take this issue head on and do something that I think is really forward-leaning and groundbreaking in the state, and that is that we're going to direct our agencies to develop a plan within 90 days to come up with a strategy and a way that we are going to electrify our vehicle fleets in line with the president's announcement by 2030. You cannot address climate change. You cannot address this profoundly important issue if you are not dealing with transportation. Transportation represents the largest impact on emissions. And so this announcement is absolutely critical to our joint efforts to protect the environment, reduce emissions, reduce our carbon footprint. And I think this provides a model for municipalities around the state. We've worked together on shared services initiatives. I was here in Westchester County before, a couple of years back, as we collaborated on a shared services initiative involving the purchase of police vehicles that provided a significant savings for us in the county. And I think that provided a model and a template for the work that we have continued to do, and really for coming here together to do this announcement. So I'm very excited. I think this is, again, a real model for what we need to be doing around the state, and it's a real credit to County Executive Latimer for his commitment not only to protecting our environment and making real progress on climate change, but on providing leadership, not only here in Westchester County, but for New York as a whole. So I'm excited. George, thank you very much for this partnership once again that's going to advance and help our communities be cleaner, greener, and going to allow us to be in a more competitive position economically as well as we assume leadership roles in the coming green economy. So with that, I'm looking forward to signing these executive orders and getting to work on this critical issue for all of us in Suffolk County, Westchester County, and I think all of New York State. Thank you, George.
Thank you, Steve. And just one more comment before we sign these executive orders. What we're doing here, and of course what Steve talked about in terms of both environmental policy and taxation policy are essential issues, but there's an even a larger overarching issue, and that is, will we in this government, in this time of crisis, will we work together and cooperate in government? We have every Monday morning here in Westchester County a conference call with all of our school superintendents to work through issues that affect the school districts and affect the county. Neither Steve nor I nor our counterparts have much of a direct role to play in education, and then through our public health responsibilities, we've had a tremendous role to play with education this year during the pandemic. They even tasked us with the responsibility of authorizing high-risk sports, which came our way a few months ago. Yes. And we find that relationship with the school superintendents and school districts are essential. In a little while, and Steve will be joining us, we have our Monday afternoon conference call with local municipal officials, the mayors and the supervisors of the villages, cities, and towns in Westchester. And in addition, all of the members of the county board of legislators participate, and members of our New York State delegation, the assembly members and the senators that represent us, participate on that call in order for us to kind of work together. Why is that important? Why is it important that two counties work together? Because the people demand it. The people want to see results. They are tired of seeing just ideology. We have our beliefs, but they're tired of hearing the rhetoric and the press conferences. They want to see concrete improvement, and that's what we're committed to do. And in order to get that improvement, to get that concrete result, you must cooperate with other people. This is not a one-person game ever. And I'm happy to know that with Steve, with Laura Curran, our friend Pat Ryan up the line in Ulster County, and with my immediate colleagues here in the Hudson Valley, Ed Day in Rockland, and Steve Newhouse in Orange, Mark Molinaro in Dutchess County, and Mary Ellen Odell in Putnam County, we find ways to work together. Why? Because that's what people want to see. They want to see result. So Steve,
County
whichever one says Suffolk is yours and the other one's mine.
We'll make sure we get these right.
Your left hand and the right hand. You need both on a pitching rotation, so. Okay, here we go. Very good, thanks. I guess we got a fist bump.
Oh, we did a fist bump, yeah. Appropriate, we want to be COVID positive.
Right, because of positive.
Yeah,
So.
thank you very much.
Westchester and Suffolk have the Launch the Joint Initiative. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Really
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, we're very happy to have County Executive Steve Malone with us, and he's going to be with us in a few seconds for our municipal call. Now we're joined by Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins as we do our regular COVID update, which should be fairly brief today. The numbers continue to show positive direction in Westchester County and everywhere else. We're not unique in this regard, but we're happy to say that with the tracker information that's up as of today, we now are down to 1,352 active cases of coronavirus, and that is a steady decrease now over the last 3 weeks. A week ago today, we were at 2,062 active cases. 2 weeks ago, we were at 3,087 active cases. 4 weeks ago, 4,110 active cases. This week, 1,352 active cases. So that's a continued diminution. We have had really a low number of positives per night or per day for testing. Overnight, yesterday, 57 positives, the day before 62, and those are the first couple of times we've seen us under triple digits, and we've been doing that now consistently for a period of time. We're also encouraged by the tremendous drop in the number of people that have been hospitalized for COVID. As I often say, the number of active cases is the breadth of infection. The number of people hospitalized is the depth of the infection. And the last reported number we have as of Saturday is 74 people are hospitalized for COVID. And that's the first time we've been under 100 in quite a while. Just 1 week before that, we were at 116. The week before that, we were at 131. And the week before that, 150. So at one point in our mid-January peak, we had 588 people hospitalized for COVID. And now the most recent numbers were down to 74 people in the hospital for COVID. And we have had 2,263 fatalities. We're pleased to say that for the last 3 nights, we have not had a fatality. We hope that that can continue forward, even as we grieve with the families that have lost loved ones during this pandemic going back to a year ago in March. But all of those numbers are very, very positive. They're heading in the right direction, and they're joined by the positive numbers of vaccinations. The numbers we see on the New York tracker is that we are over 50% of the people who have had at least one dose, and over 68% of all of those 18 years of age and older that have had one dose. And with the second dose to follow, that will put us in very good stead in terms of the number of people vaccinated. And I think you're seeing more people interact in the society on the basis of the confidence that they get from being vaccinated and believing that it's less likely now that they will get the disease. And should they contract it, it would be a less severe version of that. We're also looking at aggregate numbers from our major vaccination centers approaching the 400,000 vaccination mark. We've had 247,000 plus vaccinations at the county center, opened back in January, 7 days a week, 11 hours a day. And we're averaging over 2,000 vaccinations a day. That's tremendous. We have in the Yonkers Armory, which is operated by FEMA with state assistance, 62,000 vaccinations. They've been open a little over a month and a half. And our 2 clinics, which are smaller operations, 51,000 individuals. So just from the 4 central sites, 360,000 plus vaccinations, all very impressive when you consider that 500 some odd thousand have had at least one dose vaccination. That tells you if 360 of it came from one of those 4 centers, that those centers have been performing their job and doing it very well. So the vaccinations are on the rise and the infections are on the decrease, and all of that is encouraging news for all of us here in Westchester County. We're trying to continue to be as creative as we can in using the opportunities that we have for us now to add more people to the vaccination list. We are at a point now where the demand for the vaccine is roughly equal to the supply of the vaccine. We started this with a much greater demand and a much smaller supply. And if you recall, it's not hard to remember back to January and February, people were frantic trying to find vaccination availability. Some folks drove across the state to find it, and others, pick dates that were 90, 120 days later. Well, all of that time has now passed, and all of these folks have been vaccinated, and that's very helpful. We've established now some school site vaccination clinics, and we have 2 coming up this week at Pelham High School on Wednesday, the 12th of this month. It is a combination of school-aged students, Pelham, Eastchester, Tuckahoe, and Bronxville school districts joining forces together. And then on Friday at Westlake High School, Mount Pleasant, Valhalla, and Pleasantville school districts are all joining forces to get young people in their organizations vaccinated. At present, vaccinations under the age of 18 must be the Pfizer product, 16, 17 years of age, and then, of course, anybody above the age of 18 can take Pfizer or Moderna or Johnson & Johnson. We are hearing some information that those numbers may change this week. There may be some additional authorization to younger-aged people, and if they do, that will give us the ability to vaccinate a larger cohort of Westchester residents. But those 2 school-based clinics this week are sponsored by the county government, and we're very happy that we can go out and do that, and we have great respect for our Department of Health that staffs those facilities and go forward. Walk-ins are allowed now at all county clinics. That's different from the beginning. When you had to have an appointment, you had to go through the rigor of figuring out your way through the computer system. Now you can walk in and get vaccinated at any of the county clinics, and that obviously is good news for those still waiting for that. We have a campaign targeting young people, a youth campaign called I Kicked COVID to the Curb. Chelsea Pagano, one of our communications people, did some great graphics on this, and this is in partnership with the New York Knicks, the playoff-bound New York Knicks, for the first time in a decade or so. And as part of that effort, we're having a youth town hall coming up on the 13th. That's this Thursday night from 6 to 7. We'll do it right here on Facebook Live, where we'll answer a question of young people. And we will have a number of young folks from different communities, Harrison and White Plains and Neurshell and so forth, medical professionals with us here to try to answer questions that would come up from the perspective of young people. We're focused on those 16 to 25 years of age and the need to get vaccination. Those in that age cohort have been less responsive at this point to being vaccinated for any number of reasons. We'll try to talk about what some of those reasons are and try to address them in an open way and not in a way to lecture or to hector anybody. We are looking forward to seeing additional vaccine product become available for younger folks, and if so, we'll add additional ways for them to be vaccinated. But we still have all of the information available that you'll see through the Health Department. 995-7425 will give you the details that you need. Separate, but not quite separate from COVID, are some plans that New York State is making for pop-up vaccination sites at MTA stations, and I'll ask Ken Jenkins to give us the update on that bit of news for today's report. Ken.
Thanks, George. New York State announced its partnership, again, at the MTA, at the Metropolitan Transit Authority, the MTA from New York City to Long Island with County Executive Steve Malone out on Suffolk County, Nassau County, Long Island Railroad with Nassau County Executive Laura Curran, and certainly in the Mid-Hudson region where we were privileged to have Kathy Rinaldi at the Tarrytown station to announce the partnership with Restaurant Week. They are doing 8 sites in their MTA region, including one right here in Westchester County, where they will be giving the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, but as a bonus, to encourage those people that have been a little bit vaccine hesitant, as the county executive mentioned, to have the opportunity to have a round trip Long Island Railroad or a Metro North ticket, so a round trip ticket at the station, or in New York City in the MTA, a 7-day Metro card. So if you get vaccinated at the site, where they can do walk-ins, and the walk-ins are at a first-come, first-served basis, up to 300 people at each one of the sites. They're going to use the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, again, so they'll be one and done. And that incentive is a 7-day Metro card, free round-trip Long Island Railroad, or a Metro North round-trip ticket to go down to see the Knicks, hopefully, or you can actually stop by and go to the New York Yankees, or if you're on the MTA side on the 7 line, you can get that ticket and go see the New York Mets, who are on a winning streak, to the county executive's delight. The MTA is going to partner with the Somos Community Care, Northwell Health, and the Westchester Medical Center at each one of the sites, depending on where they are. Northwell out in Long Island, Somos in New York City, and certainly Westchester Medical Center here in the Hudson Valley region. And if you're an MTA employee, you can get vaccinated at any one of those sites anywhere in the MTA region. So we're certainly encouraging everyone to continue to do that. In Westchester County, the MTA station is going to be the beautiful Ossining Metro North Station, which is going to be open in the afternoon to evening. So from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. from Wednesday, May 12th to Sunday, May 16th. So once again, May 12th to May 16th at the Ossining train station. The beautiful views there. The county executive and I have spent many mornings on that particular station, and it is a beautiful station. But 3 to 8 in the afternoon to get vaccinated through Johnson & Johnson, and to pick up a free round-trip Metro North ticket or Long Island Railroad, should you want to do that, but more than likely maybe that 7-day Metro card. That's great news, and to be able to get more people vaccinated so we can continue opening things up. Thanks a lot, George.
Thanks, Ken. So as we wrap up our report for today, a non-COVID related issue that is worth mentioning, this is National Police Week, and this is the week where we thank our law enforcement officers for their dedicated service to honor the brave men and women who serve us. There's been quite a debate in the society about the role of police, and we have taken on that task of police reform discussions. We've identified areas where we think that improvements can be made in the county and perhaps in some of our municipalities, and to deal with some of the legitimate problems that have occurred and legitimate incidents that have occurred, triggered most recently a year ago this month by the death of George Floyd. But we also want to make sure that we're honoring those individuals who do their job properly and do it well and protect us all, and to have the right type of response so that we praise those who have done a good and professional job. And that's what we do during National Police Week, even as we remember those who have died while they have been serving us. So we extend that to all of the men and women of law enforcement, and we look forward to working to reform and improve our status across the board. I'll check with Catherine Chaffee if we have some questions today. Catherine?
We do. We have one question from Martin Willer from the Examiner. He asks, are there any estimates on how much converting the fleet will cost, and where will the money be coming from?
Okay. I'm going to ask Steve Ballone to rejoin me here at the podium, and he's certainly willing to ask. We have a couple of different areas of resources. Certainly the federal government now has made a commitment through the American Rescues Act for money that is appropriate and discretionary on our part. We can look at that for part of what we need to do. I also think that this major infrastructure bill, the American Jobs Act, is under discussion, and it does appear that there's a bipartisan commitment to do an infrastructure bill. How widespread a bill, what it'll cover is yet to be known, but there is support on both sides of the aisle to do infrastructure, and we think this is appropriate infrastructure for that purpose. But we also think that over the long haul, however we finance it, because we are going to be financing this over time, it's going to come beyond my tenure in office. But what we're doing will have societal benefits that will save us money in the long run because of the reduction of fuel costs and a host of other things that tie into having an electric fleet in place of a standard gasoline fleet. So I think Martin Wilbur from the Examiner, who asked the question, I think we're looking in the short term at having resources available, and we project that those resources will be there in the longer term through federal resources, then perhaps through the county resources as necessary.
Okay, the next question is also from Martin. He asks, are there plans to add more counties to this agreement?
I'm going to let Steve handle this. I know he's had some contacts with folks across the state. Steve?
Thank you very much, George. I think that's exactly right. The idea here is we expand this out, that when we go to do purchasing for these electric vehicles to transition our fleets as we need to, that we can draw in other municipalities that we know need to purchase vehicles. Every municipality has that issue, and this is a classic example of where you can utilize shared services, shared procurement in a way that will reduce costs for taxpayers, and in this case do something very significant, and that is to push us towards a clean energy future. And I think what George has said is exactly right. we are getting ahead of this issue. We know that the federal government, that the president has laid out an ambitious agenda, necessarily so, to address climate change. And by putting these executive orders in place in Westchester County and Suffolk County, our agencies will be understanding what some of these costs will be. And we do expect that there will be a commitment at the federal level to make these investments. And that will put us in a position now to take advantage of this as quickly as possible. And I think bringing on other municipalities is exactly what we have in mind, because this is something that will benefit everybody. The more we can do to push more quickly to a clean energy future, and at the same time do it in a way that is saving taxpayer money, that is a win-win situation. And that's why I think this announcement today is very important.
Any other questions? Very good. Well, if there are any members of the press that wish to reach out to us, they certainly can reach us through Catherine Chaffee, our Director of Communications, at 995-2932. And Steve, do you want to just give a point of contact so any of the press can reach out to you?
Sure. You can reach out to us at 631-853-4667, Derek Poppy, Director of Communications. And George, I'm going to take this as a parting gift, my Westchester County Executive pen. So I thank you for that, my friend.
Very good. Hopefully you can use it in good health and for other initiatives. So we appreciate you taking the time today, and certainly we're very happy to have Steve Malone with us as our special guest. He's been a good partner and a good friend. We will be back on Thursday at 2 o'clock to give the next coronavirus update. The numbers continue to be very positive. We hope that that trend will continue in both the rise in vaccinations and reduction in infection. We do have the town hall coming up on Thursday evening. That's after we come back for the next update on Thursday. And of course, if there are any other major issues, we'll be sure to communicate with you in the meantime. But thank you for watching. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Have a good day and stay safe.